The reason we talked about parallel lines last chapter was so this chapter we can start using them with angles. So what we're going to start seeing is a picture that looks similar to this, where this line right here is called your transversal. Okay, a transversal cuts through two or more lines. Now with that, we have interior and exterior angles. Interior, if you picture this like a sandwich, would be between the pieces of bread. So all of these angles are interior, which means all the angles on the outside, so above the bread and below the bread, are exterior. That'll help with some of the definitions. So let's look at this one. We have a couple different types of angles. We have alternate exterior, so alternate and exterior. Alternate means opposite sides of the transversal. Exterior means above and below the buns or the bread. So opposite sides of transversal and they have to be exterior. So if we name some, we could have angle 1 and angle 8. So that'd be this guy and this guy. They're diagonal from each other and they're exterior. Or we could have angle 2 and angle 7, which would be this guy and this guy. They're exterior and diagonal, opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, next one are alternate interior. Alternate interior angles, very similar, opposite side of transversal, but they're inside the buns, inside the bread. So those would be 5 and 4, and 6 and 3. Okay. We also have consecutive interior. See if I have room down here. Okay, consecutive angles. We really only deal with the interior ones, even though the exterior ones would have the same theorem. So consecutive angles are the ones that are on the same side of the transversal, and they're inside the bread. They're between the lines. So same side of transversal and interior. So examples of those would be 4 and 6, or angle 3 and 5. An easy way to find those is drawing that V. Okay, our last definition. Let's see, what color haven't I used yet? Are corresponding. So corresponding angles I like to think of as every other. So that means also if this was a foursquare, if anyone ever played foursquare before, you're in the same position. It's like angle 1 is top left, angle 5 is top left. angle 3 and angle 7. Or you can do the other side, angle 2 and angle 6, or angle 4 and angle 8. Okay, they just skip. Skip one, skip one, skip one. So being able to recognize those definitions is going to be really important, because next we're going to learn how to solve with those. So when we come down here, now what's really special about this picture is these two lines are going to be parallel. The two little arrows on the lines represent being parallel. So you either have to be told that they're parallel, or you have to have the symbols. So what we know about each of those definitions is going to help us solve. So what we know is alternate interior angles are congruent. They're equal. They're exactly the same. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. They're exactly the same. Corresponding angles are congruent. They're exactly the same. Consecutive are supplementary, which means they add to 180. So we can use these definitions to figure out all of the missing angles. Now we still have supplementary and vertical angles. We always have those anytime we have a straight line or our x. So let's say I tell you that this angle is 72. We're going to be able to find all of the other angles. So what do we have? Well, 72 is vertical with the one across from it. I can fill that in. I could say 72, this original one, alternate in exterior with this guy. This inside 72, alternate interior. So I filled in all my 72s. Now what? Well, I know these are consecutive, which means they add to 180. 180 minus 72 would be 108. That 108 is alternate interior with this guy. That 108 is corresponding to up here. And then it's vertical to down here. And we just filled in all of the angles. So why don't you guys try it with this one down here. Try number 1. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, let's find all the angles for number 1. So let's see. 62, we have corresponding. So this one, we have 2 vertical angles. Then I could do supplementary. So I know these add to 180. Well, 180 minus 62 would be 118. Then I have vertical. And then I have alternate interior and vertical. And there you go. Now let's do some solving. So look at number 2. Now here's the thing with number 2. Be very careful with this, because if I look at these 2 angles, yeah, they're supplementary. But what's the problem? I have an X and I have a Y. So I can't solve those. So we're going to have to look at either 2 angles that have X's or an angle and a missing angle. So I could look at the 5x and the 80. Do those have a relationship? Yes, they do. They're opposite sides of the transversal, and they're both exterior, which means they're alternate exterior. So that's step 1. Identify what kind of angle they are. Step 2, what do we know about alternate exterior? We know that they're congruent. So now I'm going to set them equal. So we have 5x equals 80. Divide each side by 5. And x equals 16. Okay, now let's try to find y. Well, this y angle doesn't have a relationship with 80 right now. But I can move 80, because 80 is vertical with this one, and now I have consecutive interior angles, which means they add to 180. So we're going to take 2y plus 10 plus 80 equals 180. So 2y plus 90, subtract 90 over, and divide. And there's your y. Go ahead and pause the video and try number 3 and 4. All right, so if we look at number 3, what kind of angles are these? I have this guy and this guy. Well, they're outside of the bread, outside of the parallel lines, and they're on the opposite sides of the transversal, so they're alternate exterior. So we can set them equal. So we have 7y minus 3 equals 67. Add 3 to both sides to get 7y equals 70. Divide, so y equals 10. Okay, look at number 4. What kind of angles are these? These are between the parallel lines and they're opposite sides of the transversal. So alternate interior, what do we know about them? We know alternate interior are also congruent. So we have 4x plus 4 equals 92. I'm going to subtract 4 over. We get 4x equals 88. Divide by 4 to get x equals 22.